everybody, Scott here. Just wanted to take a little bit of time to show you how I bank a fire at night. This is my Energy King wood stove insert, which I got several years ago for a really good price from a guy on Craigslist. This stove right now, made in Wisconsin, costs about $3,000. I got this one for about $400, and it's a really good stove. It has a lot of good features on it. It's fire brick lined, it has 1/4-inch plate steel, and has a really nice brass door and windows on it. It has good blowers come out the top and in the sides. But for those of you who have wood stoves, one of the biggest concerns is trying to get that thing to stay warm all night and to feel safe about it, and then get up the next morning and still have some coals left in the bottom. So how do I do that? This has worked for me every time I've done it, but that doesn't mean there won't be a time when it won't work. But let me just show you how I do it. Alright, because this is a catalytic stove, which means that when you slide this lever in, it sends the heat and smoke up into a chamber to allow for a second combustion. You got to make sure you pull this out before you open the door, otherwise you're going to get a bunch of smoke blowing everywhere. So this is how you bank a stove. Notice how I've got all these coals. This is what you want. So you got to kind of time it. If you know when you're going to go to bed at night, then it's an easy thing to time. But as you can see, I'm scooping all the coals up into one corner of the stove to create this sort of mound of coals. And after I get that mound up there up against that fire brick, then I scoop up ash and I throw it on top of the mound. What this does is it creates a blanket of ash on top of the mound of coals. Now you can see I've got a nice mound of coals in the corner with some ash laying on top of it. Now in the morning, when I go to open this up, it will look like it's just ash left in there. But when I push that mountain back down, inside of it will be all these warm coals. And that will immediately allow me to get the fire started quickly in the morning. So, in the morning I'm going to show you how that works. Alright. Well, good morning. It's been about 8 or 9 hours since I banked the stove. So we're going to see how it turned out. Let's open the door and take a look. Here you can see where I put my bed of coals. Now let's open that up. And as you can see, I have quite a few coals in there. And what that allows me to do is get that fire started pretty quick once I get the wood in there and on top of those coals. The stove is not hot, but it's still warm, and this is how I get a fire started quickly in the morning. So let me get some wood in there and we'll see how it goes. Okay, I've placed some small pieces back in there, and a lot of this stuff is just, these small pieces are just like odds and ends from stuff I've split outside. I like starting my fires with cotton balls and petroleum jelly. Really cheap, and it works really well. I also usually will have my kids go out and gather some pine cones. You can see there's a couple pine cones in there that will help really get this thing going. Like, just take a cotton ball and put it in the petroleum jelly and set it there up against one of the pine cones that I've placed in there. And it should get started pretty quickly here in a moment. Usually put 3 or 4 of them in there. Come on, just start off with that. Leave the door cracked a little bit. And we'll see how that goes. Well, as you can see, we're on our way with this fire this morning. And I'll just keep adding pieces to it as it goes, and pretty soon we'll have a rip-roaring fire. I want to thank Uncle Terry McDaniel, for telling me about using cotton balls in petroleum jelly. You know, you can buy a really large bag of about 200 of those cotton balls for about $2 at Walmart. Petroleum jelly is a little bit less than $2, or I think even if you go to the Dollar General, you can buy one of those tubs for about $1. So it's a really cheap way to get a fire going. I used to buy those boxes of starter sticks and stuff that you can buy at Home Depot and places like that. But you know, you go through a few of those boxes and you spent $20, $30, $40, $50 easy, whereas cotton balls and petroleum jelly work just as well, and they don't cost very much. So as long as you got some small stuff to get it started, it'll take right off in no time at all. So it's cotton balls, petroleum jelly, pine cones, and little chips and smaller pieces of wood, and it usually takes right off in the morning. I'll do a video another time of a cold start when the stove is cold and show you how I do that as well, and also maybe show you a little bit about how I get the smaller pieces together out of the bottom of my wood splitter. It's a good way, as you're splitting wood, you get little chips and little pieces that break off the logs, and if you gather them up and put them in a box, that makes for great starter wood for kindling wood. So I'm just sharing this. This is how I do it for my friends and family. If you're interested, it may not be the best way, but it's the way I've been doing it for a long time. Been burning wood myself for about over 30 years. I grew up in a home where we burned wood. I remember when I was in elementary school, coming down in the morning and getting dressed in front of the Ben Franklin stove on cold mornings. And so it's been a part of my life for a long time. I enjoy cutting wood. I'll have some videos I think I'll make of how I do that as well. It's a good way to get exercise. It's how I get a lot of my exercise, cutting wood. So anyway, there you have it. As you can see, we're well on our way to a nice warm fire here in North Georgia, where it doesn't get really frigidly cold, but it gets cold enough that, especially this time of year, that we have a fire most of the time. So, hope you enjoy it.